Okay. Hello. Sifu Anthony here from Flowing Zen, and I believe I'm live. Those of you watching live, can you please let me know in the comments whether everything's working? And if not, we'll fix the technical difficulties as usual. So hang on a second. Let me just get settled here. Here's what we're going to do today, though. Basically, I just thought it'd be fun to do a live broadcast. I don't do these very often in Facebook, and I probably should do them more often. And there's another reason that I'll mention in a minute, but the, uh, the Facebook group is just a great place to do this, and it's a great community. So I figured, why not? I'll just do one live today and see how it goes. So the other reason that I wanted to do this was kind of to celebrate because we just hit 2,000, over 2,000 members in this group, and that is fantastic as far as I'm concerned, because this is a group. This means that those 2,000 people are really like actively engaged and commenting and asking questions and providing support. And that's fantastic because, Facebook is always changing, and I have my Flowing Zen page, my professional page, but it's not the same. It's mostly one directional. I post stuff there and you can look at it and maybe make a comment, but you can't communicate with each other. And the Facebook group is so awesome because you guys can connect with each other. Sometimes I don't even need to be involved, which is awesome. You guys help each other. It's so amazing. And hitting 2,000 members is a real milestone. I consider it a beautiful thing because it really says a lot about our community and about how Qigong is becoming of wider and wider interest to people. So anyway, I thought we'd celebrate a little bit, and we're just going to have some fun. I'm going to answer your questions if you got them. You can just say hi. We're just going to chat. Those of you, if you're new to Flowing Zen or if you don't know me, this is how we do things very often, especially in both my online and my offline classes. There's a lot of time where we just chat and we talk about Qigong, Tai Chi, meditation. We talk about our struggles. We talk about what works, other ideas. We just have a nice conversation, and that's what we're going to do now. Let me take a quick look at the comments. I did get a couple questions ahead of time, so I can use those as well. But what we're going to do is you're going to feed me your questions in the comments, and I'm going to do my best to keep up with those. So just to double check, everything is working, right? You can hear me, you can see me, everything's working fine. It's always good to check in with the technology. So can someone just please give me a thumbs up or let me know? Okay, let's see. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves too, so that I can see where you're from. Just tell us, who you are and where you're coming from. I'm in Florida right now, and where are you signing in from? Let me double check the Facebook. I'm using some software to manage this, but I'm not always sure how well it works. So, okay, so there's a bit of a delay, but everything's fine. Okay, good. Great. I can't see the names in there, so I'm going to go back to Facebook. Give me just 2 seconds. I apologize for the technical stuff. It's always a lesson. Let me look inside Facebook so I can see the comments and see the names because I know you guys. And I think that'll probably work better. Okay. So first of all, let me just quickly address a few questions that people sent ahead of time, and then I'll dive into your questions. So one of the questions was, do you have a favorite method, trick, or formula for staying relaxed? That was from Ray. Ray, did you get a chance to clarify that? I didn't know if you clarified it or not. But I'm going to assume what you mean is, do I have tricks for staying relaxed outside of the Qigong practice? Because obviously I have lots of tricks for staying relaxed while you're doing your Qigong session. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume, Ray, that you meant staying relaxed like through your other activities. And I do have a favorite technique, and it's square breathing, which I've taught before. I even did a live video on this. Square breathing is basically just equal parts inhalation, pause, exhalation, pause. And with some practice with square breathing, what works so well for me is I can do other things while doing square breathing. So I can wash the dishes, or I can walk the dog. I can walk with square breathing. I can drive with square breathing, although be careful with that if you're new to it, because you might get too relaxed, you might lose concentration. But for me, square breathing works great, and it's a great way to stay mindful and relaxed throughout my day. Okay, let me tune into the questions here for a moment. So it might take me a second to catch up here. I can't figure out if they go from top to bottom. Okay, so they go the other way. Great. So does anybody else have a question? If you do, go ahead and post it in the comments, and I'll address it in just a moment. I'm going to address some of the other comments that people already posted in here. Gina asked, I've read your blog entitled Sinew Metamorphosis. Do you teach this in one of your online courses? Yes, I do. I teach that in the 201 course. So in the 201, I teach a bunch of traditional sets, which is a bit different than how I do the 101. The 101 is just my method, just pedagogical. So, and you know that, Gina, because you're in it. The 201, I teach a whole set and then another set. And the set that we started with this year in the 201, which we'll probably start with next year, is Sinew Metamorphosis. In Chinese, by the way, that's Yi Jin Jing. And some people know this set by that name instead of by Sinew Metamorphosis. So I teach Yi Jin Jing as part of the 201, and it's a fantastic set, and I absolutely hope you will learn it someday. Let's see. And then I got this question via email. Somebody said, I've been teaching myself by watching videos. How do I know if I'm picking it up the right way? This was in response to my recent blog post, which I published today, which you can read if you haven't seen it. And basically, you know, the post was like about what I say to people when they say you can't learn Qigong online. I used to be one of them. It's just not true that you can't learn it online. You know, I was wrong. I admit to being wrong. You absolutely can. But this question came as a follow-up to that. I've been teaching myself by watching videos. However, how do I know if I'm picking it up right? Well, first of all, are you getting health benefits? If you're getting health benefits, then you're obviously doing something right. Second of all, I should clarify that my online courses, and I have different types of them, but you know, just following a video on YouTube is not quite the same as taking a course. With my courses, at least, you have the ability to interact with me. So in the 101 and 201, you have the ability to do something like this with me, except that we use different technology, and I can actually see you if you like, if you allow me to. In some of the other courses, you can leave comments, and then I'll answer them, but you have this back and forth. You have the ability to get feedback and correction, which you don't have in a DVD or on YouTube. So that's a big difference. But anyway, the first question to really ask is, are you getting results? If so, I guess you're doing something right. And how much better results would you get if you had better instruction? That's what it comes down to. There was another question, a little off topic, but I love the pics I've seen of your drone shots. Thank you. And this was referring to a picture in the Facebook group that came up. I think it was on my profile, which is why it came up. Yeah, that was a drone shot. And I love my new drone. It was a bit expensive, but it's a nice toy, but it is actually a really good tool, because not only can I get these beautiful shots, and I really love taking photographs and videos in beautiful shots with Qigong, because, you know, Qigong is such a majestic art. It's so amazing. And I like to frame it in these ways that you catch this glimpse of what Qigong is, and that Qigong isn't just this movement art. Qigong is so deep, and it's so beautiful. And, you know, that's why I like to capture these cool shots. And the drone helps me to do that. You'll be seeing lots more drone shots from me in the future. And that one was done in Costa Rica. It's a little bit harder to do them in the United States because there are laws here. You can't fly them everywhere, but that's okay. So I will hopefully be shooting lots and lots of drone shots in the near future, and you'll see both video and pictures. Okay, so Ray, follow up on your question about the staying relaxed. You forget to do square breathing. So as is always the case, sometimes the hardest thing is remembering to remember, right? So you can use technology, you know, use one of your phones or something to remind you for a period of a week or 2 weeks to start implementing square breathing. So you can literally just ask Siri to remind you to do square breathing, like at certain times throughout the day, or leave little Post-it notes around the house, or whatever works for you. But, you know, remembering to remember is hard, but we can solve that problem quite easily. And then once you start to implement something like square breathing, it's so worth it. So it's worth the effort to do something like that right now. And if this resonated with you, if you're watching this and this resonated, write this down. Write it on a Post-it note right now, or go do something right now, because otherwise you will forget. The human memory is infallible. I put everything down. Anything that I need to remember, I put it down on my phone. I have a method on my phone. Basically, I put it into Siri. And that means that I don't have to remember anything. I can always look later at every little task or anything that I have to do. It's written down because I know that the human memory is infallible. So I'm not going to try to pretend that I'm going to remember later. It just doesn't work that way. Okay, if you're just joining us, I'm Sifu Anthony from Flowing Zen, and we're just having a nice, fun, casual Q&A. So go ahead and ask me questions about Qigong, Tai Chi, meditation. You can ask me questions about yoga. I'm not a yoga expert, but I can frame it within the Qigong context, or just say hello and tell us where you're from. And did I miss anybody's questions? If I missed your question, go ahead and repost it for me. Here's another question. Let me tackle this one from Peter. I do the 8 brocades every day between 20 to 50 minutes. I do feel that I want to learn more different Qigong forms. What should you recommend? Someone who is like the 8 brocades. So, of course, Peter, I recommend that you take one of my courses. Now, if you haven't gotten this already, because I know you learn from other teachers, which is totally fine, but I know you also follow some of my stuff. If you haven't figured it out yet, the way that I teach is not so much by Qigong set, right? So much as a pedagogy, especially in my intro courses and my Qigong 101 course, both of which are really intro courses. So I'm more concerned with getting skills to you, like transmitting those skills, than I am with, which set are you going to learn today? However, in my Qigong 201, which I mentioned earlier, I do teach sets. So the sets that I teach are the Sinew Metamorphosis, or I Jin Jing, the 12 Qigong Treasures, which is more from the Taoist tradition, the 18 Lohan Art, which is not the same as the 18 Lohan Hands. So sometimes to differentiate, I call it the 18 Arhats. And then I also added some bonuses this year. Actually, one of the bonuses was the 8 brocades, which I also know and teach, and one finger shooting Zen. So to answer your question, what would I recommend? It depends on what you want to do. If you wanted to take the 201, that would be fine, but you would have to take one of my intro courses first so that you know some of the basics that I teach, and then you could go straight to the 201. Or you could just take my 101, in which case the set that you learn over the 101 over the period of 12 months is the 18 Law in Hands, which there are some similarities to the 8 brocades, but it's really quite different, and there's more exercises. And it's such a fantastic set that I think everybody should learn it sooner or later, because it really is amazing, and it saved my life, and most of my students have nothing but amazing things to say about the 18 Law in Hands. So I guess I didn't really give you a clear answer, but I gave you a couple choices. Hey, Bill. So Bill says, I don't remember who said that square breathing was good for cold hands and feet, but I found it to be great for that. It may have been me. I don't remember. I've known that to be true, and I've used the same thing back when I lived in places where it's cold. I used to do square breathing, while waiting for the subway or something like that in New York City. But I'm glad that you had that same experience, that it really sort of warms the core just by doing square breathing. Okay, another question from Beverly. Hi, Beverly. Does depression and anxiety heal spontaneously with Qigong, just like other conditions seem to? I noticed someone had posted their driving anxiety seems to have spontaneously improved, even though they didn't seem to be doing anything extra, like doing square breathing while driving, for example. So it's a good question, Beverly, and I'm not sure what you mean by spontaneously, because are they doing the 5-phase routine? And if you're new to Flowing Zen, the 5-phase routine is the very basic routine that I teach. It's a fantastic routine. It's more of like a method for practicing Qigong that contains a bunch of the, once kept secrets of Qigong, and I've organized them into a routine that takes about 15 minutes. So if they're doing the 5-phase routine, is it healing spontaneously? Well, no, it's healing as a result of practicing the 5-phase routine. That's a natural result. But if I can tweak your question a little bit. So the question is, if they're just doing the 5-phase routine, but they're not necessarily doing exercises that are specifically for depression and anxiety, or let's just say anxiety, could they heal? Absolutely. In fact, there's a strong argument that it doesn't matter at that level, especially at the beginning level. In the acute stages, there's a strong argument that we don't necessarily need to choose the right dynamic exercises, because the whole routine, the 5-phase routine, especially with Flowing Breeze Swaying Willow in there, which if you don't know it, Flowing Breeze Swaying Willow is part of the 5-phase routine. It's probably the best kept secret in the world of Qigong. I've written about it. I've talked about it. You should learn it. You should learn it someday in your life. It's just just an amazing technique. But Beverly, if they're practicing flowing breeze, swaying willow, then just by the nature of the technique, the chi is moving where it needs to go. You're tapping into your body's holistic healing power. And whether that's anxiety or depression or chronic back pain or something else, then yes, the body's going to start to heal. So that fits right in with the theory of Qigong and Chinese medicine. And in fact, that's what I did. I didn't really learn specific techniques for depression and anxiety for myself. I basically learned lifting the sky. That's pretty much what I used, and the 5-phase routine. Although we didn't call it the 5-phase routine back then. And it was a little bit different. But later I learned things like separating water, which is good for depression, anxiety, and lifting the spirit, which is kind of like a version of lifting the sky. I learned that, which is now what I teach in my depression and anxiety class. But I didn't learn those till later. So I myself got good results just with lifting the sky, but I practiced. In the beginning, I practiced poorly. I just did 2 minutes a day. But once I started practicing the 5-phase routine, and once I got the dosage up, so once I was practicing every day and then twice a day, and once I did that for a while and the quality was good, I started to see results. And that's what happens. That's what happens with students. You can select exercises appropriate for the condition, but if you're doing a routine like the 5-phase routine, by its very nature, it's holistic. So lots of things are going to heal. And this happens all the time, right? Students, they want to heal this one thing, but along the way, something else heals, even though they didn't target it at all. This is what I want. It's a strong message that in my teaching with Qigong, that you don't have to, and sometimes it's not even wise to target things. What's wise is to do really good Qigong at a high quality at the right dosage. That's what makes the most difference. And then, yeah, we can choose exercises. I mean, really the reason to choose different exercises is to pick favorites. That's the real reason, is that if you have favorites, or if this exercise feels good, if you wake up and you think, I can't wait to practice this exercise, well, then that's a good choice, regardless of what the classics say or what people say about this exercise is good for that. If you like that exercise, you should do it. Just that simple. Good. Okay. If you posted a question and I missed it, I'll try to scroll down here a little bit, but it's this, what I'm using here is not a great interface for seeing the questions, but can you post your question again if I missed it for some reason? I'd like to answer your questions. And does anybody else have a question? Let's see. When is the next 201 class? It's a good question. The plan is for early 2019. And I think that's probably how it's going to go. So the 101 will open in November. I'll do a lot for that, and then we'll have the holidays. We'll get through the holidays, and then in the new year we'll start the two, maybe a little bit later into the new year because it's crazy. This year I started it in March, but I might start a little bit earlier in 2019. And for those of you who don't understand, some people just don't understand the technology. The reason my programs only open at certain times is because I cannot clone myself. Once I can clone myself, well, then we can do it more often. But what you don't understand is that these courses, not all of my courses, but the 101 and the 201 are semi-live. What this means is that some of the components are live. You can ask questions in a variety of ways. Basically, what it means is that I am there with you, with that group, for the duration of the course. So there are a lot of things that I have to do behind the scenes to make the course happen the way that it does and to have the experience that my students have. And in order to do that, I can only work so much, and I can't open the class that frequently. Now, some students will say, well, just let us in and you don't have to do those other things. That's one way to teach. That's out there. You can buy DVDs. You can learn in other ways. That's not how I teach. I want to be engaged. I want to not only have a relationship with my students, and you can ask people in the 101 and 201 classes about this, they have a relationship with each other. There is a camaraderie that develops when you start a course with the same group of people and you finish it with the same group of people. And if I let people come in all the time, that can't happen. Now, I've solved this problem just recently, just last week. Now I have another course called Quiet Mind, Healthy Body, an Introduction to Qigong. And that is open all year, although I have a special on it right now, a special introductory price. So that solves part of the problem. If you want to get started and you don't want to wait for the 101, well, here's a course that'll help you get started. You can dive into this, start practicing, take advantage of a lot of my other resources, especially my free stuff. And then when the 101 comes around, you can join us then. It's just that simple. Hi, Melissa. Okay, next question. Let's see, George. Hi, George. I still struggle with keeping balance while practicing white crane. Any suggestions? I have no other balance issues. So, George, give me a little more information. So, are you struggling with your balance with your eyes open or closed? Are you barefoot or do you have shoes on? And I know you guys live near the beach or you go to the beach often. So, are you practicing on sand or on something stable? Give me a little bit more feedback there and then I'll answer your question. So let me just catch up on Beverly's follow-up here. By the way, follow-up questions, even if you didn't ask the question, that's part of it. That's part of this discussion. Like in Costa Rica, we just got back from Costa Rica, and we sat around the fireplace, and we just asked questions. And, you know, sometimes it's just bouncing around. You can't do it quite as easily here, but, you know, sometimes the students will ask questions of each other. And if you have a follow-up question for me, go ahead and post it in the questions as well. Let's see. So Beverly's follow-up was... okay, so you found the answer helpful. Good. Yes, yeah. And your other question, Beverly, was the picture of you on the beach attached to your post about your live MMA today? Was that a drone shot? Yes, it was a drone shot. I took that on the beach of Costa Rica when I was there a couple weeks ago or last month. I released a few drone videos, just short ones, in one of the promotional videos that I released about the trip to Costa Rica. Maybe somebody can post that. But yeah, when I have time to edit some more, I did get some good footage and I'll release it and I hope to get lots more footage. Okay, so George clarifies that the eyes are open, usually with sneakers on and on the lanai. Okay, so the lanai that's Florida speak for a porch. Every place else, they call it a porch. Here down in Florida, they call it a lanai. It's fancy. Okay, George, so if you're still struggling, yeah, you're not going to like this answer, but you probably just need more practice. I would recommend that you practice it some of the time barefoot, if you can, because it sort of gives your foot, which has like this computer in it, more, I'll use this for now, my keyboard, more information through the toes. By wobbling and losing your balance on your feet, you get more information through the toes, and that is good for your proprioception and your vestibular system. But really, if you are practicing, and I would encourage you to do a test, if you're practicing your balance like that, like the white crane exercise, which people don't know, it's kind of hard to do on this camera, but basically just standing up on one leg. If you're doing that every day, pretty regularly, and you're not seeing results, then I have to think about it and come up with another answer, because most students, even your age, actually I would say especially your age, they see fast progress within 2-3 weeks. If they're practicing it, they see results to the point where they're much more stable, and then they want more of a challenge. So what they do is they close the eyes or something like that, and then that's a much harder challenge then. So try to do it every day for a week. Try it barefoot. See if that works. If not, I'll try to think of something else that you could try. But you know, it's just a sign that we need to work on your vestibular system. And I would like to see you, and I would like to help you get progress in there, because it's really nice. It feels good when you've struggled and you're wobbling in the stance, and then suddenly you keep practicing, you practice it, and 2-3 weeks later, you're able to stand there like you couldn't do before. And that's a beautiful thing. It really is very encouraging, and it means that your vestibular system is stronger. You're welcome, Peter. I'm glad you enjoy the live sessions too. Good. Good. Okay, any questions or follow-up questions? Don't be shy. Let's see. Scrolling around here like a madman. Okay, here's one that I missed. Okay, Jennifer, I get occasional mild numbness and tingling in my right arm. Getting acupuncture every six weeks helps keep it at bay, but I'd love to learn Qigong exercises that I could add to my routine to get the same relief without needing acupuncture. Are there any exercises you could suggest? By the way, I practice daily 10 to 20 minutes, working on adding a second session, but that's still hit or miss. Still, that's pretty awesome. Good job, Jennifer. That's awesome that you're practicing every day. And the synergy of practicing every day with Qigong as well should be powerful. Now, I don't know enough about what you told me. You didn't tell me enough, so I would need more information. Mild numbness and tingling in your right arm. So I don't know what your acupuncturist, if you give me the diagnosis from your acupuncturist, then I would know more. You don't have to do that here, by the way. You can send it to me if you don't want to, some of that is private. You don't have to share it here. But here's my guess. Actually, I'll go so far as to say it's not a guess, that one way or another, this is going to be true. The question is, to what extent is this going to be true? And what I want to say is, are you dealing with the mental emotional component? And myself included. I mean, even recently I had an issue with this, with some chronic pain. I'll tell that story another day about my chronic back pain. But we forget, and society tells us to forget about the mental emotional component of stuff like this. And I can almost guarantee you that there's a mental emotional component about it. Now, you're practicing your Qigong and you're doing acupuncture, so on some level, you are dealing with it. But we can always go deeper. And this is where my story comes into play. Like, I should know better. And I practice my Qigong and I do advanced techniques. And, I'm pretty good at this art. And still, if I don't basically make a decision, I would say a heartfelt decision, I'm going to tackle some of these strong emotions, or I'm going to start to work on them. Even just that decision. If you don't do that, you can practice Qigong. And what happens is you just sort of plateau. You go into like a holding pattern. And I'm not sure, but I'm going to guess that this is a big issue of your shoulder tingling and numbness. Of course, you have to rule out other things. That's what doctors and acupuncturists are for. Make sure it's nothing else. But even if it is something else, frozen shoulder, maybe you tore your rotator cuff, maybe it's something else I don't even know about. I'm not a doctor. But even then, there's almost always, I think at this point in my career, I'm ready to say there's always a mental emotional component. And it's so neglected that we can almost always take a look at it. And it's almost always worth taking a look at because it's the thing we look at the least. Okay, so wait a second. So Jennifer, if you have follow-up to that, please go ahead. And let me back up because JT asked a question. Your closing form is very different from what I have found in the past. I love it, but can you break down the components to it? JT, when you say my closing form, do you mean the closing sequence, this whole thing? Is that what you meant? And George, good. Go ahead, try it daily. And George, yeah, actually, JT's comment to George, yeah, you can focus the eyes on one thing, George, to help with the balance. That's also very helpful. Sorry, I'm jumping around. If you're just jumping in, it's a little confusing. But hey, we're just having a nice conversation here. So JT, give me some follow-up to that, and I'm going to jump in here and address something else. Yeah, and what Laura says is fair. That make sure if you're keeping your eyes on a spot for balance, make sure it's not something else that's moving, like another person or something else. Okay, so JT, you're referring to the closing sequence. So not all schools of Qigong have a closing sequence like ours, which I'm just going to do as I talk. We have one. And the full closing sequence encompasses quite a lot of these techniques. These are like self-massage techniques in the world of Qigong. And I've learned Qigong from different people over the years, and I've learned I've seen pieces of these in other schools, but I've never seen one school with all of them in one place, which is the way I learned it. So all of the steps, I have videos on this, but I'll just do it quickly. Rubbing the palms, warming the eyes, patting the face, washing the face. You would not do it this fast. Combing the hair. Point massage. Burp, 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 burp. We go through a series of points, acupoints, right? And we rub the ears. And then the heavenly drum. I'm just trying to show that to you. So my closing sequence, I inherited. I love it. I think it's very productive. I've learned bits and pieces of it from other places. And I get great results with it, and my students have gotten great results with it, so I use it and I teach it. I guess your question was more along, where was your question? Let me see it again. You said it's very different. Well, I mean, there's so many schools of Qigong, so many different styles that, of course, there's going to be differences. If you love it, then enjoy it. And I guess I won't go into breaking it down here because I do have videos on that. So if someone wants to search for the videos on the closing sequence, I do have them. Even free ones, I've got a few of those. And then, of course, I do it in my in my paid classes, I teach it systematically. Okay, let's see. Isabel. Okay, JT says it's unique. I'm glad it's really helped you. That's fantastic. I would not say it's unique. I would say maybe having all of the pieces in one place are unique, or maybe a few pieces are unique. There are teachers out there doing it, especially in Southeast Asia. But anyway, if it helps, that's what really matters. That's what I'm most glad about. Okay, Isabella asks, and if you have other questions, go ahead, dive in. Don't be shy. I think I'm pretty caught up on the questions, so there's room, and I'm going to go a bit longer. I'm not going to make this too long, maybe 10, 15 more minutes, but if you got a question, go ahead and ask it. Isabel asks, I sometimes feel the energy as if it's stuck in my elbow when I practice lifting the sky. It feels like a softball surrounding one or two elbows. Should I do something to let it flow, or will it just clear out naturally? And you're welcome for the live session. I'm glad you're enjoying it. So Isabel, it depends. I mean, first of all, the first thing to check into is to make sure that you're not forcing lifting the sky. So again, it's a little hard on this video, but make sure you're not trying to get the arms too straight. You know, you can really relax it. Relax it quite a bit. Butcher the form, as I always say, right? You're allowed to butcher the form. So assuming that you're butchering the form and you're not forcing it and you don't have unnecessary tension, then, okay, well, the joints are common places for energy to get stuck. And I don't know if you can tell me, if you can follow up and say, hi, Vandy. I don't know if you can tell me whether or not you have some known issue or some previous issue, either recently or in the past, in your elbows. If so, well, that would explain it. But even if not, the elbows are where the chi tends to get stuck. Sorry, not the elbow. Yes, the elbows, but the joints. So the elbows, the shoulders, the knees, the hips. And this is very common for chi to get stuck in the joints. And yes, Qigong will help to clear it. So, you know, some exercise may help to open it up a little bit more. So like I'm thinking of the birthday candles, which is a nice one for opening up the shoulders and a little bit in the elbows. But your practice, yes, will also help to clear it. Again, it's about the dosage of your practice, the quality of your practice, and yeah, really those two. How high is your dosage of practice? How high is the quality of your practice? And sometimes, you know, learning new exercises, new skills, new techniques will help to raise the quality of your practice. Okay, so you do not have a known issue. She just clarified. So in that case, it's probably just common that some energy is getting stuck there. And really experiment with lifting the sky. See what happens. Make it softer. And also make sure that it's not okay. Like sometimes you'll feel energy along the arms, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, like one finger Zen, we feel a lot of energy down the arm into the finger, but that's a good thing. But yeah, in general, if you feel it's stuck someplace, well, we want to try to get that moving, and we're going to do that with our regular practice, of course. Okay, so Jennifer says, love these sessions. You mentioned a few months back that you might be attending and doing a session at the Qigong Association meeting this fall in Portland. Do you know if that's a go? I will not be teaching at the National Qigong Association Conference in Portland in October. I will be attending. I'm pretty sure I will be attending. Let me correct that. I hope to attend, but I'm not sure. I actually got called for jury duty, and there's other things going on. I think I can probably get out of the jury duty, but we'll see. But anyway, I'm going to do my best to attend, but I will not be teaching. But if I do attend, there's nothing to stop us from, you know, having a little get together or having a meal or a drink someplace. I don't see why we can't do that. Okay, did I miss any questions? So do you guys like this, you know, these live sessions in Facebook? I mean, it's fairly convenient, I think, for a lot of people. And of course, you'll be able to watch the replay later. But let me know, actually. Let me know right now in the comments if I should do, is this something I should do more of? What do you think? Do you think that live sessions like this, I could probably fix the camera if I tried enough and get another camera if I wanted to, like, because with this little camera here, I can't do too much. But on the other hand, I can do that in other ways. It's nice to actually just go back and forth and have a conversation. Oregon or bust, Melissa. I hear you. You're going to keep pestering me. Oh, so these yes, pleases are to my question. Okay, good. Thank you. That's good feedback. Awesome. Okay, good. Well, seems like a lot of you like it. Anybody else have a question? Oh, I mentioned in the beginning. Let me mention it again because some of you weren't here. So we reached 2,000 members in this group, in the Facebook group, which I think is awesome. That means that that's 2,000 people, over 2,000 people who are really interested. Like my Facebook page, I think I've got maybe 11,000 people on there, but nobody really participates in it. It's not a good community. I basically post stuff and people kind of like it and maybe read my blog posts. And Facebook pages now, the professional pages, they're kind of dead. There's nothing fun happening in them. So to have 2,000 people who are like really gung-ho and active in this group, that's awesome. And it's awesome to hit 2,000 people. I love this group because you guys are engaged and practicing and you're supportive. I do a bit of a policing of the group because I don't want it to, some of the other Qigong groups, not all of them, but some of them, it's like factions of different Qigong schools and people are kind of rude to each other and they go back and forth. I don't want any of that in there. So this is my group. It's for people who are interested in what I do and what we do. It doesn't mean you have to be doing it or you have to be 100% a flowing Zen Qigong student, but this is our group for our people. People are interested in what we do. If you do something else, great. Just be respectful and be nice. And if you're not nice, I'm going to kick you out. Or Melissa's going to kick you out because she's one of the admins. So I'm really thrilled that we hit 2,000. It's awesome. And I think it also points to what's happening with Qigong. People are catching on. And that's a beautiful thing. And the revolution is coming, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Oh, Chow from Florida. So you guys, okay, Trisha and Brendan, who I played matchmaker for, by the way, because they came to my retreat in Costa Rica and now they got married. Congratulations, you guys. Felicidades. I don't know how to say it in Italian, though. Did you guys, now I don't understand. I'm not really on Facebook except for my job these days, but I saw something. Trisha and Brendan, did you guys move to Italy? Did something, I don't know. Some weird stuff is going on, and I don't know what's happening there, but if you guys moved to Italy, that's fantastic. That's awesome. Oh, yeah, George, you are asking about my podcast. The goal is to start a podcast. It's like one of the many projects I have in place. Actually, right now, the competition, so George, I had polled students about a podcast name and got some good answers. Right now, I'm 50-50 between starting a podcast and doing more live videos and YouTube videos. It's a toss-up because podcasting I would prefer because it's easier and it's just nice to have conversations sometimes. But in the world of Qigong, everybody wants video, which is harder for me because it's like video is video and audio. People forget that you have to do both and there's editing involved very often. So I have to decide, but you'll be hearing more about that soon. But the question is it going to be more like something like this? You can do this live now on YouTube too. In fact, I can broadcast on a couple different places at once, I believe. So am I going to do more live videos or am I going to do podcasting first? And I don't know yet. But eventually I'll definitely have a podcast. That just might be next year. Gina asks, what do you say about doing the opening meditation walking? I like to do it while I'm walking my dogs every morning. What do you mean by the open meditation? You wrote mediation. That's something different. You mean the opening meditation, the entering Zen? Is that what you mean, Gina? Wow, okay. So Trish and Brennan moved to Italy. That's amazing. And let's clarify, Trisha, when you say come visit, do you really mean it? Be careful. Be careful what you say. Okay, so Gina, the opening sequence, phase one of the Gina, the 5-phase routine should not be done walking. I mean, it's not to say that you can't do it walking, but if you're doing the 5-phase routine, that part should be done standing. It's necessary in order to get the head-to-toe relaxation. But if you want to walk around before the session, which of course is sort of part of the session, and if you want to do that meditatively, and if you want to begin relaxing, that's totally fine. Just make sure to then do your head to toe relaxation in the session. Okay? Like, here, maybe I need to mention this more often. I'm so flexible with the 5-phase routine. It's like, here's the way the routine is, here are the basic components, and there's so much flexibility. You can take things in and out. You can change the duration of it. You can change the order a little bit. There's so much flexibility within the 5-phase routine that when students then also ask me to, when they ask me to make fundamental changes to the 5-phase routine, my answer is no. Why? Let's not. We know it works. Let's keep it that way. You can do what you're doing. You can walk and meditate in addition to the 5-phase routine, but then when you do it the proper way. Okay, Trisha, if you mean it, then I might just have to come visit Europe. I'm due for a European trip anyway. All of the UK members are really pushing for some sort of class or whatever in someplace in the UK. So, okay, good, Gina. I'm glad you're not changing the 5-phase routine. So I don't know if I answered your question. Maybe you can clarify, but my answer was basically, sure, relax, smile from the heart while you're walking before the session, but then stay still. Stillness is part of the relaxation process. Stay still once you start the 5-phase routine proper. Okay, did I miss anything? Okay, I think I got everything. Good. Okay, if there are no more questions, if you've got a question and you're burning question, then go ahead and ask it. If not, we'll wrap it up, and we can do this again. It's fairly easy for me to do this. Certainly, Q&As like this are easy and fun for me because my students, the students who've been with me for a while, especially in person, the sort of running joke is that I don't even know what I know. And sometimes the way to get information out of here and to sort of tap into some of my experience or my knowledge or whatever is just to ask the appropriate questions. It's harder for me to just figure out what to say without any prompting. But if you prompt me with a question, then yes, I can share my experience, or I'll remember a story that I had forgotten and not thought about. So asking questions is good for both of us, and this is fun for me and easy. So wait, Peter's got a question. Okay. You're welcome, Marie. You're welcome, Phoenix. I'm just going to wait a second for Peter's question. Peter says, I've got lower back problems. Some good advice. Yeah, I have an article on this, on low back pain. And I was talking earlier in the session about my recent battle with back pain, which I will tell more in a more accurate and comprehensive story at some point in the future. But my old article stands now more than ever. My article is something like Why Your Back Really Hurts. So maybe somebody can Google that or look for it. But it's kind of similar to the message that I gave Jennifer earlier, which is that unquestionably, when we're talking about back pain, we need to look at the mental emotional component. And I can almost guarantee you that you're looking at your back pain from a physical, structural perspective. So when people ask about back pain, they want to know, okay, it hurts here, I've got a hip hike, I've got this, and what's the exercise that I can do that's just going to release that magically by stretching or doing something. And so like, for example, something like the bear walk, one of these techniques, which is actually fantastic for the back. If I give people like that an answer, they can go use it and they might get some results. Sure, it might stabilize your hips a little bit, which is important. It might release something, and there's a lot of research to back up what I'm going to say now, more than even when I wrote that article in the past. Your back pain, I almost 100%, we'll say 99% just to be safe, but I can almost guarantee that your back pain has not just a mental emotional component, but a huge mental emotional component. If you are not actively and powerfully addressing the emotions underlying this issue, particularly like repressed anger, frustration, shame, guilt, things like this, then no physical exercise is going to solve your back pain. Even things like chiropractic, which could address the structure, or of course surgery. Surgery is, be careful with surgery, folks, because, and some of you probably already had surgery. If you look at the stats for surgery, for back pain, it's too often prescribed, even when there's other interventions. And so often the back pain doesn't go away. In fact, I have a student recently, it's terrible. She had pain before the surgery. She had the surgery, and then the pain after the surgery for years afterwards was worse. This happens all the time. So surgery, okay, you got to look at your options, but let's look at other options. And one of those options is to address the mental emotional component. So we can do that in Qigong with things like the 5 animal play, even flowing breeze, sway, and willow. Excuse me, addresses the emotional component on some level. You can use things like NET, which is called the neuroemotional technique. So Peter mentions that you have a herniated disc in the lower back. Me too. That's still not structural. Here's what people don't understand, and doctors should know this. There's plenty of research. People with herniated discs don't always have pain. The herniation is not necessarily the cause of the pain. So there are cases where it's positively not a cause of the herniation. So for example, one of the herniation, let's say the herniation is in, I can't remember exactly, I can't remember the nerves here, but let's say it's in one of like L4, L5 or L3, L4, I don't know, it's in one of those, and then you feel pain, not just in the back, but you feel it going down the back of the leg. Well, guess what? That nerve doesn't run down there. So it can't possibly be from the herniation. There are other reasons. There's a lot, back pain is a mystery. Well, largely a mystery in Western medicine, but they are grudgingly accepting that back pain has a mental emotional component. This is something that Chinese medicine says, something that we all need to remember. So even if there's a herniation, that doesn't explain it. That doesn't mean, oh, it's just physical. I would even go so far as to say if you have a herniated disc or a bulging disc, depending on what they call it, or a slip disc, addressing the mental emotional component is even more important. Sorry, if you have herniation and you have pain. Lots of people have herniation but don't have pain. So don't think that the herniation just means, oh, it's structural, therefore I just have to like it's, clockwork, like you're working on your little Swiss watch or something and you just have to fix the structure. That you will not have good success if you go down that path. You'll have much better success if you address the mental emotional component with things like I was mentioning, neuroemotional technique, that's NET. Things like, EFT or tapping, things like that. If those things work for you, great. Whoops. Whoa, wait. Everybody still there? Sorry, my screen just cut out there for a second. What's going on? Help! Okay. Back. Sorry about that. My screen just went blank. If you're not addressing the mental emotional component, you need to look at it. It's super, I cannot stress it enough. I can't tell you how important this is. And I'm saying this from Chinese medical theory, my own experience, my experience with lots of students. You have to find a way to address the mental emotional component. And if you don't, that pain can get severe and go on and on and on and on. So that's my advice. Whatever works for you. Oh, I was going to mention, some sort of psychotherapy or behavioral therapy. If something like that works for you and it helps you to deal with the emotions, great. Whatever helps you to deal with the subconscious underlying emotions, guarantee you that's part of your back pain. This is a topic I need to write more about. I need to talk more about. I probably need to do a course on it. And again, all of that will happen. I'm always just juggling, one too many balls. And I hope that I'm in the process. And let me ask you, actually, maybe you guys can help me out here. I really need help. And I'm going to try to hire a virtual assistant to help me, like a professional who can help me out more. But I'm also thinking maybe I should ask my members if there's anybody who, wants to do a little work, either, be fine to pay them, but somebody who has the skills that I need and also understands what we do, maybe I should put a call out there, and maybe some of my peeps, people in my tribe, will be willing to help me, because I'm at a point with my business where I can't even juggle everything. I put my energy first and foremost towards my active students. So what that means is, for example, things fall through the cracks. Like students email me, and I literally see the email. It's not that I haven't seen it, but it goes into a queue, and I only have so much time to answer it because I have to focus on my students who are active. The students who are actively paying me, I think it's fair that they get first dibs on my attention. And honestly, even they at this point, sometimes I fall behind because I've got too many things. It's a lot of work what I do. It's a of course it's a passion project. I love what I do, but I need help, and I'm starting to try to figure out how am I going to do that. And if anybody has ideas for that, then I'm officially raising that subject of like, how do I get help? So, okay, good. Thanks, Laura. That's good feedback. So maybe I will ask my tribe, like, does anybody have either ideas, or does anybody want to help, or what? Or can I use my certified instructors? Do any of you guys want to help out in somehow? But, I need professional help, not just like, oh, I'm willing to help out a little bit. Like, what I need is people who are willing to help me, because this is like, this is it's a school, it's a business, it's an organization now, and it's gotten bigger than me. And I need to get help quickly to try to help manage everything. So I'll find a way to do that. I'll manage. I always find a way. Okay, folks. So I'm glad you enjoyed the live session. This is fun for me. I hope you benefited from it. I'll leave the replay up for a little while. So if you missed something and you're joining late, you should be able to watch it. And you can still comment even watching the replay. I'll get a, it will no longer be live, and I'll get a notification later. But if this was helpful to you, then also let me know, because it seems like a lot of you enjoyed this live broadcast. And if so, then maybe I really need to think about doing this more often, and I'll figure out how to do that. But great, if it benefited you, I had fun doing it, and I always enjoy answering your questions, and we'll do it again in the future. So let me say goodbye. It's time for me to eat some lunch. Thank you for joining, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the Facebook group and online and all around in the larger Flowing Zen Qigong community. So have a wonderful day or evening or whatever time it is, wherever you are. Bye, everybody.